I'll call my brother Finn and my ex-fiancée Olivia. So here's what went down. About 10 years ago, I had a really rough and embarrassing experience. I was all set to get married to my girlfriend at the time. We had everything planned out, the venue was booked, guests had arrived, and I was ready to say I do. But then, out of nowhere, she ditched me right at the altar. Can you imagine? Instead of marrying me, she ran off on what was supposed to be our honeymoon. But she went with another guy named Finn. Now let me tell you about Finn. He was someone she had a crush on since high school, but back then, he didn't really notice her that way. She left me a note explaining all this, saying she used me because being with me helped her stay close to Finn. That's pretty harsh, right? In her note, she did say that at one point she really did love me, but things changed for her after she and Finn ended up spending a night together, and they had a bit too much to drink. After that night, she believed that she and Finn were truly meant for each other, like soulmates. This whole thing knocked me down pretty hard. For about a year, I was a total mess. It was really hard to move on because I kept remembering that day, the image of her mom crying as she handed me the note, and the shocked and pitying looks from everyone who came to our wedding. Those memories just kept pulling me back every time I thought I was getting better. But, time has a way of healing wounds. Gradually, I began to heal and put that day behind me. I decided that I wanted nothing to do with Finn, and I cut off all communication with him and her. I haven't spoken to either of them for 10 years now. In the beginning, my family didn't tell me that they were still in touch with Finn, but after a couple of years, they finally told me everything. They sat me down one day and explained that she was pregnant and Finn was going to marry her. They said I really needed to try to get over what had happened because they planned to go to Finn's wedding and other events like the baby shower. That was a tough pill to swallow. I felt kind of betrayed that they handled it that way, not really considering how I'd feel about it all. But at the end of the day, they are adults, and I realized I can't control what they decide to do with their lives. I made it clear to them that I didn't want to be involved in any events where Finn and she would be, and I wasn't ready to forgive Finn at all. They tried a few times to get us to talk and sort things out, but eventually they understood that I just wasn't interested in fixing things with him. After a year of not talking to Finn and Olivia, life went on. Fast forward to last week, I found out that Finn and Olivia are expecting their 5th child, but things aren't going too well for them. Finn's business went under last September, and Olivia lost her job because the chain she worked for closed down. They ended up with no savings at all. Out of the blue, my family started dropping hints that my wife and I should help them out, especially for the kids' sake, since we're doing pretty well financially. But my wife was having none of it. She flat out said no, and suggested Finn should just get a job. After that, we just left the conversation there. A little while later, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I had a hunch it might be them, but I picked up anyway. The moment I said hello, Finn and Olivia both started going off on me. They accused me of not being able to move past what Olivia did years ago, and even called me terrible for punishing their kids for their parents' past actions. Then, my brother chimed in with a real zinger. He asked how it felt to be the reason their kids might go hungry. I was pretty taken aback, but I stood my ground and told them that their situation was their responsibility, not mine. They didn't take that well at all. They started yelling and crying, so I ended up just hanging up on them. Since then, my family hasn't been too happy with me. They've been calling me all sorts of names, accusing me of taking out my anger on Finn's innocent kids. My wife's advice was pretty straightforward. She said we should tell them to back off, and suggested they should reach into their own pockets if they're so concerned. Now for the top comments. Not the idiot. I love your wife, and I'm getting a tan from her blazing shiny spine. She's right. Plus, she is truly all the family you need. Mike and Tammy made their choice 10 years ago. The thing is, Tammy knew what she was doing and could have ended it way before the ceremony. Coupled with the fact she had a one-night stand when you're broke, it's his culpability. The gross cherry on top. They took your honeymoon. I'd have sued for that. I hope you got the ring back or do it for the cost. I love the wife too. And she's correct, especially about them reaching in their own pockets. But the audacity of Mike and Tammy calling and screaming like they have any high moral ground is laughable. So block them all and enjoy life with your real family. That hero wife you have, not the idiot. They are complete idiots. If you were asking for someone to help you, you grovel at their feet, not tell them how crappy of a person they are. Secondly, how irresponsible of them to have a 5th child that they cannot support. Sorry about your family mess. I'd say continue not having them in your life as you have been. If your parents want to help, then that's their choice. You owe your brother nothing. I'm also kind of shocked that they would have the gall to even have the conversation and start blaming OP when they haven't spoken in years. Now that they made him, certainly appears the problem. Convenience. Those kids aren't your responsibility any more than they are anybody else's. The rest of your family could ante up and shut up about it. You're the reason their kids go hungry. LMFAO, do not get me wrong. I wouldn't say I like seeing anyone go hungry and trust I had to have help once or 100 times. So my kids were little and no, there wasn't a global issue. But they seemed to be sitting back waiting for you and your wife to save the day and not making any advances to change their circumstances. She humiliated you, and he let her, and now they need you. Please. But let's say you help them just this once. Then they'll think they're in good with you and try to keep using you. I would not. Nope, no way. However, although I think you're not the idiot, I couldn't sit back and let the kids suffer just because their parents are idiots. Maybe buy them kid-friendly meals to last a week and let them fend for themselves because any other avenue, and they will benefit too. Story 2. I grew up in this cozy little town where everyone pretty much knows everyone. I went to university right here in the same town, and lucky for me, I landed a job in the area soon after I graduated. It's been pretty convenient, especially because I started working in a field that allows me to give back to the university by supervising students who are required to complete hands-on work as part of their degree. I've been doing this for a few years now, overseeing these student internships, and it's always been a smooth ride. There hasn't been a single hiccup, at least not until recently. A couple of months ago, as has happened several times before, the university got in touch to ask if I could take on a student for the upcoming semester. Naturally, I agreed, as helping students is something I genuinely enjoy. They mentioned that they would send me the student's contact details closer to the start of the semester so we could hash out all the necessary arrangements. Fast forward to last week, and I finally get the email with the student's information. But here's where things took a surprising turn. When I looked at the name and the attached photo, my heart kind of sank. It was a girl who had made a significant portion of my middle school and high school years quite miserable. Yep, she was my bully, and frankly, I had hoped never to see her again. Word around town was that she'd enrolled in the same program I did years ago. She had initially pursued a different career path, but recently decided to make a switch. While I knew this much, I never anticipated our paths crossing in this way. Given our history, I immediately felt that supervising her might not be the best idea. There were too many old wounds there, and the potential for bias or unresolved issues affecting her internship seemed high. Moreover, to be totally honest, I just didn't want to reopen old scars or deal with any drama. I decided to take a proactive step and emailed the school to explain the situation. I told them that I knew her personally, and that I thought it might not be wise for me to be the one overseeing her internship. I hadn't spoken to her in years, and while people can change, I worried about the dynamic it would create. The school's response was understanding at first. They replied that they appreciated my honesty and would attempt to find another placement for her. That seemed like the end of it until a couple of days later when they got back to me again. This time, they explained that finding another supervisor was proving difficult due to the global situation, which had limited the available options. They also mentioned that the student had been informed of the situation and was okay with me supervising her. But I wasn't okay with it. The thought of having to interact with her daily, potentially reliving some of the negative experiences from my past, was too much. So, I stood firm in my decision and told the university that I wasn't comfortable supervising her. They needed to know where I stood, and I hoped they'd respect my decision. And that was pretty much the end of the conversation. As things stood, I thought the issue was resolved until the student herself took a step that caught me completely off guard. She somehow still had my personal phone number, probably from back in our school days, and decided to use it. She called me out of the blue, which was unsettling to begin with. During the call, she pleaded with me to reconsider my decision. She explained that she hadn't secured any other internship offers, and without completing this one, she wouldn't be able to graduate on time. Although this wasn't her final internship, not having it would delay her graduation by a semester. She sounded desperate, but I maintained that it wasn't appropriate for me to supervise her, given our history. Her response took a sharp turn. She accused me of being unfair, highlighting that we hadn't spoken in years, as if the past could just be erased. I stayed firm in my decision during the call, and we eventually hung up. What followed was a series of angry texts from her. One of them struck a particularly harsh note, saying, "This is why no one liked you in high school." After a barrage of such messages, her tone shifted back to pleading. Despite the emotional roller coaster she put me through, I chose not to respond to any of her messages. This whole situation left me feeling quite conflicted. Part of me wondered if I was indeed being too harsh, questioning whether I should just let bygones be bygones and help her out. but another part felt justified in protecting my emotional well-being from potentially stressful and unpleasant interactions. The echoes of our past interactions, especially the hurtful comments she used to throw my way, aren't easy to forget. Now, with her latest outburst, it seemed clear that the dynamics might still be problematic. I found myself pondering whether standing my ground was the right choice, or if I was somehow being the idiot here for not just brushing it all off and supervising her. It's a tough spot to be in, especially when you start to second-guess your own feelings and decisions based on someone else's desperate situation. Am I the idiot? Now for the top comments. Not the idiot. This girl clearly has the emotional intelligence of a stick of butter in your place. I might have at least considered supervising her if I'd gotten a sincere apology for what happened in high school. But that doesn't even seem to have occurred to her. Throwing it in your face and then going back to pleading is particularly baffling. The unprofessional text served only to confirm it. Karma's a wit, not the idiot. You did everything professionally and above board. You do not need to sacrifice your password for history to assist her in graduating. The university is correct. She can be okay with you. But you also have the right to not be okay with her in a supervisory role. Pass the text along to your university so they have this on record just in case. As her behavior shows, she will escalate this document. Everything. You do not feel bad. Not the idiot. Honestly, I'm pretty shocked she contacted you on your personal phone, and the fact she brought your school years into this means she knows exactly what the issue is. I'd also let her course know she contacted you, by the way. They should speak to her before she does an internship in the future. Well, she pretty much proved you made the right decision. If you'd given her less than a stellar evaluation, if you'd given her any negative feedback, anything at all, she'd have gone off on you and blamed you for her deficiencies. You are not wrong, Hiroki, and keep all her correspondence. Screenshot the text. Retain all this for when she inevitably reports you for sabotaging her academic career out of personal malice. Story 3. So, I'm a 25-year-old woman who loves sewing. It's not my actual job, but I've made some pretty cool clothes over the years, like 3 wedding dresses and a few dresses for graduation ceremonies. Sewing is more of a serious hobby for me. Now I have this friend named Karina, who's 26. She's getting married soon, and she asked me if I could make her wedding dress. I thought that was a cool idea, so I agreed, but I told her I'd only cover the cost of the materials if they weren't too fancy or rare. She would need to pay me a bit for each hour I spent working on the dress, because making a dress takes a lot of time and effort, you know? Karina wasn't super happy about having to pay, but she agreed. That was 3 months ago. Even then, I felt like something might go wrong. I had this funny feeling in my stomach. Looking back, I really should have trusted that feeling because things got pretty wild. Karina turned out to be really tough to work with. Honestly, she's been one of the most difficult people I've ever had to deal with, and I used to work in retail, where you meet all sorts of challenging customers. Here's what happened. Karina kept changing her mind about everything. First, it was the fabric, then the shape of the dress, then the little details, and finally the whole design of the dress. And every time she changed her mind, it meant more work for me. But it wasn't just the changes. Karina started asking for really expensive materials. She kept saying she has really good taste and everything needs to be perfect for her big day. But honestly, it felt like she was just being super picky and kind of bossy. Then came the last straw. She decided she wanted Swarovski crystals on her dress. Swarovski crystals are super fancy and expensive, and adding them to a dress is a lot of extra work. So, yeah, making this dress has turned into a huge project, way bigger than I expected. It's been stressful and a lot to handle, especially when your friend keeps asking for more and more, and you just want to make her happy for her wedding day. But it's tough when it feels like she doesn't understand all the effort that goes into making a dress just right. So, after Karina asked for the whole dress to be covered in Swarovski crystals, I was really shocked. Those crystals are super expensive, and I definitely wasn't going to pay for all of that. When she told me this over text, I just laughed because it sounded so outrageous. I texted her back firmly, telling her there was no way I could cover the cost of those crystals. That's when I decided that enough was enough. I sent her a message that I think was pretty fair, considering everything. I said something like, "Karina, I value our friendship, but it's been really hard to work with you on this dress. Your requests are too much, and it feels like you're using me. So, I'm going to have to stop working on your dress now. I'll send you a bill for the work I've already done, and once you pay, you can pick up the dress." Karina didn't take that well. She texted back saying she shouldn't have to pay anything because I was the one backing out of our deal. I stood my ground, though, and told her no payment meant no dress. It turns out her wedding is only a month away, and she's been panicking, posting on social media about looking for secondhand dresses or rental options. This makes me think she really was hoping I'd just give her the dress for free from the start. Now, I feel pretty bad about how everything turned out. Everyone I've talked to thinks I made a silly move, but also that Karina kind of brought it on herself with her demands. I'm torn. Part of me wants to just finish the dress in a simpler way and give it to her as a gift, but I'm not sure what to do. It's a tricky situation because I want to be kind, but I also don't want to feel pushed around. It's tough when friendships and big projects like a wedding dress mix together. Things can get really complicated. Now for the top comments. She wanted us for a Roski, crystal-encrusted dress. Sweet baby Jesus. I used to use them a bit and beating only a bit because they are pretty stupidly expensive. I don't even want to think about how much it would cost to buy enough of them to cover an entire wedding dress. Not to mention the work involved in sewing them all on. You are not the idiot. She can go to the store and buy a dress in a month. So don't put yourself out anymore for this person. Not the idiot Bridezilla never intended to pay you a dime. Lesson for you. You didn't limit material cost. Not too expensive is extremely subjective. Do not back down on no money, no dress. I would go ahead and finish it and put a fair price tag on it. Then if she wants it, she can pay for it. If not, sell it cheap online so another bride can take it and have it fitted and altered as needed for herself, not the idiot. Listen, if she does need that dress, she'll pay for it. If she doesn't, it means she knows she can't afford it and was all too happy to put it on your tab. This is like offering to buy your friends lunch, so they purposefully order the lobster tail and their most expensive bottle of wine. Screw these people. Story 4. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was just a kid coming home from school, expecting everything to be normal, but it wasn't. My dad, who had been a big part of my life up until then, had left. Just like that, no goodbye, no explanation, nothing. I was left all alone, feeling abandoned and confused. Luckily, my grandma, who was actually my dad's mom, stepped in. She took care of me and helped fill that empty space my dad left. Fast forward to a few weeks ago, my grandma passed away. It was a sad time, and at her funeral I saw my dad for the first time in 14 years. It was awkward and uncomfortable seeing him after all these years, especially under such sad circumstances. After the funeral, we all gathered to hear what was in my grandma's will. Turns out she left me her property, her house, some land, and a few other things. I was touched that she thought of me, but this really upset my dad. He couldn't believe it. He started arguing right there that he deserved the property because she was his mother first. He said it was unfair that I got everything and he got nothing. Since then, my dad has been on a mission. He's been contacting me, trying to convince me to give him the property. He keeps saying that I should let him have it now, and he promises he'll leave it to me in his will when he passes away. I didn't agree to this because it didn't feel right. My grandma had made her wishes clear in her will, and if she had wanted him to have her property, she would have written it that way. But it's not just about the property. My dad started spreading rumors in our family. He told everyone that I had somehow tricked my grandma and stolen what rightly belonged to him. He painted a picture of me as someone who was punishing him for leaving us years ago. Because of this, other relatives started reaching out to me. They've been telling me that no matter what my dad did in the past, I should show respect and care towards him because he's still my father. They talk about filial piety, a belief that no matter what, children should honor their parents. They say that being kind to him, even if he wasn't kind to me, is what makes a good daughter. These conversations and the constant pressure are really tough to handle. Everyone seems to have an opinion about what I should do, and it feels like they're all siding with him without understanding the whole situation. I'm trying to hold on to what I believe is right, but it's getting harder every day with the mounting pressure and the feeling that maybe I'm the one in the wrong here. So that's everything that's been going on. It's a lot to deal with, and I'm still trying to sort through my feelings and decide the best way to handle everything. Am I the idiot? Now for the top comments. You are not the idiot. You owe your father nothing for walking out on you. Don't even engage with him. Block his number if you have to. If he attempts to confront you in person, walk away. Put all your relatives on blast and tell them that the matter has been decided, that you're keeping the house, and that you will block anyone who attempts to continue discussing the topic. A fire can't burn without oxygen, so starve this issue of all its fuel. Being good to my father, even if he isn't good to me, is what makes a good daughter. Why would you want to be a good daughter in these circumstances? It sounds like you hardly know him. Not the idiot. Stay strong. And by the way, this is not what stealing is. Unless you can steal from yourself, I'd be interested in knowing if, in addition to help keep in the house, they could report the abandonment to CPS and file 4 years of child support that are owed. Even if you had suggested that your grandmother disinherit your father for abandoning you, you would not be the idiot. Your grandmother left her house to you because she wanted you to have it. End of story. Your father must have had little contact with your grandmother in the past 14 years. If she raised you and you didn't see him again until the funeral is to have to abandon his responsibility to you meant that she ended up taking over. There is zero chance of you inheriting the house when your father dies. If he doesn't sell it and squander the money, it'll be left to a love interest or beer buddy or something. Keep your house. The woman who parented you wanted you to have it. Story 5. So, I have twin kids who are young teenagers, and things have been a bit messy at home lately. My wife, well, soon to be ex-wife, and I are getting a divorce. Here's the scoop. I found out that she had been cheating on me with our gardener for quite a few years. It's a big deal because we had a deal when we got married, called a prenup, that said if one of us cheated, the other would get to keep our house, most of our money, and be the main person the kids live with. But here's the twist. I don't really have the kind of proof I'd need to show in court about her and the gardener. However, she also lost her job because she was caught sleeping with her boss, and I do have proof of that, which I can use in court. Now, our son has been asking questions like if his mom did something wrong and why we're splitting up. I've been trying to keep things simple and not badmouth their mom. I usually say things like, "Mom and Dad both love you a lot. We just can't get along as well as we used to, but we're going to do our best to make things okay for you guys." Despite this, I won't lie, I'm pretty upset. What she did was really wrong, but I keep reminding myself and the kids that she's still their mom. One day, my daughter told me that Mom said I was controlling and manipulative, and that's why we were splitting up. She thought I was stopping her mom from doing things she wanted to do. That's when I decided I needed to tell them a bit more about what was going on, like her cheating and how she was spending a lot of our money on fancy clothes like Gucci, even when we needed that money for important stuff like school fees and our bills. I explained that I wasn't trying to control her. I even admitted where I could have been a better husband, but the truth needed to be out there because the kids were getting the wrong idea. Now my ex is furious. She says I turned the kids against her, making them think badly of her. My son even confronted her about her cheating. She blamed me for ruining how the kids see her. I told her that it was the result of her own actions. So yeah, that's what's been going on. It's a lot to handle, especially trying to be honest with the kids while protecting them at the same time. Am I the idiot? Now for the top comments. Not the idiot. Your kids are old enough to understand the truth and the repercussions of said truth. They deserve to know the truth. It's not fair that she gets to smear you with lies, but you have to keep the truth secret. At least, though, as a child of divorce. Keep them out of the rest of it. They don't need to hear or know all the crap that's going to go on between you and the lawyers and your wife. Exactly. She told me I ruined their image of her. That's rich. For her to complain about ruining her image when he told the truth, while at the same time she had no problem telling lies to the kids. If she didn't want people to know about her actions, maybe she shouldn't have done those actions. Mind-blowing idea, I know. Yeah. OP, you can't ruin someone's image by making it more clear. Unfortunately, she ruins her image by doing nasty things. Your kids would have had to find out the truth at some point. They're at that age where they can understand what's going on, so don't beat yourself up. You told the truth because you don't want to lose your kids, not because you're out for revenge.